Good morning, Pura Vida. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. Thank you for joining us at beautiful Bail Rica in Costa Rica and on the internet. This morning, Lisa Virtue is going to give us a guided opening meditation.
Thank you, Ruthie. Now, because last week's didn't record properly from technical malfunctions, we're going to do the Kriya that Michael taught us. It's a 3-minute Kriya. But I think to start with, let's do 5 minutes of just our quiet, centering meditation that we all love so much. And then, but before we do that, I'll go over the instructions for the Kriya, so then we can just go into it. So, if you weren't here physically last time, it's a meditation for prosperity, and prosperity means more than just financial. It's in abundance in your life and a smooth flow. And to address the energy blockages and the spiritual blockages that we might have to that, these hand motions address the meridians, and then we have the mantra, which the sound that we'll be saying is har, H-A-R, but your tongue sort of touches the top of your mouth, so it almost sounds like a D, like had, had. What else was there? I'll show the motion. So the hand motions is, the first one is you tuck your elbows in to your sides, and you're going to hit the sides of your hands together.
You drop your thumb.
I'm on the other side. So upside down. There you go. Palms up.
Yeah.
The outside of your palm, outside together. Then you turn your hands over. Your right thumb is below your left thumb, and you hit the insides of your fingers together. And so you just go back and forth, tapping. And so that's sort of held up around your heart area. The third thing, I remember now, is you're looking down the bridge of your nose to the tip of your nose. Your eyes are only open about 10%. So they're almost shut, and they're just seeing the tip of your nose. You kind of have your hands in your field of vision as well. While you're doing that, then you're also chanting har, 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 har. So I'll play the little tune that he had. I just have it on my phone, so we'll see if you can hear it. That can help guide us with the speed of that. Everybody got that? So remembering it's just like freeing the blocks to prosperity in all its forms.
You want to do that first and then be quiet, or be quiet?
No, we'll
first?
Quiet first. I found that
Okay.
it's more helpful to be quiet when you start it. All right, so I've got a timer for 5 minutes. So this one we'll just do closing our eyes, coming into our breath, sighing out any of those tensions that you've been holding, letting everything else fade away and focus in on this present now moment. You're present in your body. You're aware of the sounds and the sensations, just as things that are occurring without your need to engage with any of it. And as thoughts drift into your mind, just bring yourself back to noticing the sensation of your breath moving in and out. Looking for a peace within ourselves that exists no matter what's going on in the external world. barely opening your eyes, that 10%.
Ooh, are you sure that was just 3 minutes?
It feels like a long time, doesn't it?
Thank you, Lisa.
We'll just take a moment and sit with that energy as well.
Yeah, take a few deep breaths. Take this. Well, today's topic is generosity. And it's sort of a natural to follow Jeff's talk on gratitude and Michael's talk on prosperity, which, as Lisa indicated, was more about altruistic prosperity than material. So we're coming to generosity just now. But the Buddha made generosity his introductory speech whenever he encountered a new audience of lay people. The word for the practice of generosity in Sanskrit is dana, D-A-N-A. And the Buddha believed and proclaimed that dana was the gateway to the Dharma, the entry to the path of enlightenment. Now, there's a reason why he chose Dharma over all the other practices that they have. And it's really quite simple, and it's worth thinking about. Being a very intelligent fellow, the Buddha realized that when he began to introduce himself and his practices, his audience would be much more receptive if he began with something that they were already really familiar with, that they found to be friendly, and they're just comfortable with the concepts and the practices already. So they weren't going to resist because anything looked strange or, See, he just was able to draw them in to a place of response and receptivity by talking about something they knew so well already and had been practicing since they were born, really. So the idea that generosity can be a gentle entry into what for many people might seem something sort of strange or different or what have you, is easy to follow, and it's something we can kind of incorporate ourselves. Think of it this way. We all know, we don't need an introduction to generosity. We all know what it is. It's giving and sharing. As I say, it's familiar, it's friendly, it's universally accepted as a social virtue. So already you say, okay, how does this work with what you're going to introduce me to? Well, let's take some examples. Let's take loving kindness. Obviously, the act of generosity is a manifestation of loving kindness. So through generosity, you open up to the teaching of the Brahma Viharas, starting with the most obvious one, which is loving kindness. And being generous makes us feel good. So you move to the next Brahma Vihara that directly applies, and that's joy. Because we feel good and we are happy. So now, having established that, we can move into something like this, you say, what about something else? What about, let's say, the things that make us suffer? Let's take the three poisons in Buddhism. That's greed, hatred, and delusion. Obviously, generosity aims as straight as any arrow right to the heart of greed. So you open up the possibility to understand the Dharma's position on greed. It also opens up the position on hatred, because we don't bestow gifts and love and all this on people we hate generally. And so it doesn't feel good. We've decided that it doesn't feel good to not be able to be generous. So now we move away from hatred. And then there's delusion. The big delusion in Buddhism is the sense that we are separate from one another, that we are not connected, or that we are not interdependent. Clearly, generosity points directly to that teaching. You follow the trend here? So, the one more, this one, let's go to intention. Everybody remember what the three major intentions are in the Eightfold Path? The first one is letting go. When we are generous, we are letting go. We are learning to release. Okay? The second intention is goodwill. Well, generosity totally incorporates goodwill. We celebrate all the people we love and activities and what have you with generosity, with gifts and sharing. And the third is to do no harm. And generosity would be not at all wishing to do harm. So again, generosity plays in to the Buddhist teachings. Any questions on that? You can take it. Let's go back to the Four Noble Truths and the causes of suffering. Can you see how craving, grasping, clinging, ignorance, and delusion all can be looked at gently and talked away in a teaching that comes from a place of generosity in the heart? Because generosity creates space. It opens us up. Things unfold with generosity. Okay? So now, as the Buddhists set it up, the generosity, which is known as Dharma, is the first of 6 practices known as the paramitas, and the Dana paramita is the first one. And these are the practices that are the corollary to the Eightfold Path. But as time went on, Shantideva in the 3rd century made this more and more. He took it from the early Buddhism and it kept going, and he made it more of the direct path to becoming a totally enlightened being, or bodhisattva. So here are a couple of words. We know Dhamma, that's generosity. Paramita, the word basically, literally, means beyond. But it's beyond in the sense of transcendence. You remember the Heart Sutra mantra, Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate. That's gone, gone, gone beyond. And whenever they talk about transcendence, it's couched in the terms of, we use the word paramount. This is a Sanskrit word. You know, a lot of Sanskrit words went into the Greek language. And from the Greek language, it ended up a lot of it in the English language and all the Romance languages. So they're bits and pieces of it. But a paramita is one of 6, what they call them. Oh, it's got a word that's wonderful. I can't think of it right now. You know my brain, how it works. It drops things when it needs it. But anyway, I think I can remember what the 6 are. They're, first of all, generosity. And from generosity, you move to ethics, morality. And from ethics, you take training and, it's called the 6 perfections. Okay, now I remember. The 6 perfections. Now, this is the fun part. There are really 10. So you have the 6 perfections and you have the 10 perfections, and you get to take your choice. Most people just call it the 6 perfections. So anyway, you've got generosity, you've got ethics, you have patience. The Buddha truly believed that haste makes waste, even spiritually. That we must be able to let things unfold. Those three he really emphasizes for lay people. The next three are for lay people who wish to go there, but they are very much emphasized for the monastics. And those are energy, wisdom, and I can't think now. I'm so bad at these things. I forget my things. Meditation, energy, meditation, and wisdom. So once you have perfected all of these things, and you become a bodhisattva, and a bodhisattva is someone who has reached enlightenment. Let me go back to the beginning. In talking about introducing the concepts to lay people, people like us, if they can appreciate the fact that generosity makes them feel good, it makes them happy, they can relate that to the final step, which is enlightenment. They can say, oh, okay, it's not something, really that they can't grasp. It's something that they see, oh, I know what it feels like to be happy from giving. I know what it feels like. And so they got that. It makes me feel good. Now they learn that enlightenment is those feelings multiplied all the way up, top decimal. Okay? Anyway, all of these teachings, we're going to do some more vocabulary. I brought this word up not long ago. Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means the awakened heart. Bud, I know you know, means awake. And the Buddha was the man who woke up. And what you wake up to is the true nature of reality. That always strikes me as such an obtuse statement, but that's the way they put it. You're going to wake up to things as they are. You're going to wake up to your own true nature, ultimately. So anyway, so you've got Dharma, you've got Paramita and Dana Paramita, which is the first Paramita. You have Bodhicitta. The word, again, this is something else I think you know. The word for heart and mind is the same word. So you can call it the awakened mind, you can call it the awakened heart. And all of these, as you practice, lead us to enlightenment, which is, of course, liberation from suffering and the happiness that attends that liberation. And all the way, if you run into something that you don't quite understand or that seems a little strange or esoteric or mysterious, you can go back to Dhamma Paramita and attach generosity to that teaching. Okay? Now, the Buddha was also very much of a realist. What we're talking about now is altruistic. It's spiritual generosity. It's the open heart. It's all those good things. But the Buddha said you also have to be very practical when it comes to generosity, because there are a lot of scam artists out there. There are a lot of people who will take advantage. And he actually came up with a list of 11. I can't remember all of them, but I remember thinking some of these had to be very poorly translated because they didn't make any sense. One of them was, it's an ornament of the mind. What the heck does that mean? Things like that. But he points out, avoid negative generosity. For example, quid pro quo. I will pay you money if you will do what I want you to do for the benefit of what I'm interested in. Usually we think of it in terms of politics. A lobbyist says, okay, we want you to vote on this bill and we'll take care of you. Okay? That's unhealthy. The Buddha says bad karma. Okay? Another is inappropriate generosity. Giving to a child, for example, as a bribe for good behavior when he's being bad, it just encourages him to be bad so he can be good, so you give him some more money. Okay? Giving an addict anything that enables him is a poor use of generosity because it breaks that third intention. You could very well be doing harm rather than good. So he says, okay, do the right thing to the best of your ability. Keep your eyes open. Use your money wisely. Do not deny yourself that which you need and that which gives you comfort and pleasure as long as it's within acceptable bounds or appropriate bounds. You have to use discernment. Here's his other word. Now, there's a story about a king whose name I've forgotten, who came to the Buddha and he said, okay, I want to give away lots of money. I don't know to whom I should give it. Can you tell me where to place my charity? And the Buddha said one thing. Give it to someone in whom you have confidence. Know where your money is going. A fool and his money are soon parted. Don't give your money unwisely. Now, he could have said, oh, we're a traveling monastery here. We could sure use some of that money, or so could a lot of people. But he pointed out the basic thing. When you make the decision, if that's your question, who do I give it to? Check it out and give it to someone with whom you have the confidence that it will do good things. So that's about it. I can't think of anything else on generosity. Can we throw it open? We all know what generosity is. Do you think this is a workable situation? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Ruthie, do you think it's common today with
Speak up
us?
so I can hear you.
Do you think it's common today for us? Are we generally generous?
I think people instinctively want to be generous.
But are they really? I mean,
Well,
if you go around the room, I'm not just going around the room, but we're caught up with so much. I'm just asking because.
well, I don't think he puts conditions on the generosity. He says you take care of yourself and your family. Charity begins at home, so to speak.
Okay.
He doesn't use those words, but that's what he's saying. Do not deny yourself or your loved ones everything that you should have. That's good. And beyond that, it's up to you to determine, except for the fact that it should be someone you know is going to use it well. I don't think he sets percentages or limits or anything else. I think the main thing for the Buddha always comes down to bodhicitta, the open, generous heart. A smile is a gift, a handshake, all of these things. And so if you begin to live your life in the sense of, oh, every time I frown, I could be smiling. This is sort of the gist of all Buddhism is towards the open heart. And so that's the only thing I can think of.
One thing that this may be not exactly kind of what you're saying, but I find the most pleasure of giving when it's something that I want.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, it's kind of contradicting what Buddha says, that you fill yourself first and then.
Well, he doesn't say, "Oh, you got to do you first." He just says, don't deny yourself.
But that is when I'm filled with a joy of gratitude when it's something. And I'll just use a little example of a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Ooh, that cake looks really good. And then someone is there and they didn't have a piece of cake. Here, you can have my cake. And that makes me really feel good.
Right.
But it's can be bigger than that.
It's a good example because I think we all feel that, if you're going to give something that you didn't want anyway, and you're giving it to somebody you don't like, I don't think that really qualifies you for generous person of the week. But you're right. It always does. I mean, we're generous when we celebrate birthdays and Christmas and weddings and, even funerals. We open our hearts and send flowers and gifts to charities for that person. We need to do this. Now, there's a nun, and I can't think of her whole name. I know some of you know her, Jetson Palmo. She tells a lovely story. I think I told it once before about witnessing a child being taught the joy of giving. And this was a little 4-year-old boy. He was at a family gathering with his mommy and his daddy. And one of the relatives gave him a big box of chocolates. And he had never had a box of chocolates before. And he was like thrilled. He was clutching his chocolates. And his daddy leaned over and said, "Why don't you offer some chocolates to the nun?" And he said, "No, they're mine. They're not hers, they're mine." And his father said, "Son, of course they're yours. If they weren't yours, you couldn't share them with anybody." She said, this little boy kind of leaned back. After all, he was only 4. And he thought about it for a while. And then he took the box and he went around the room. And everybody had a piece of his box of chocolates. And his face, she said, was just radiant. He had felt the joy. That one of the good things about having things is that gives you the power to share them. And I think she tells it very, very nicely. But I think we all have had our moments where we've had to contemplate, do we really want to give or not? Now, I know the people that come to this group, and I know how charitable these people, everybody here is. So we're kind of preaching to the choir. And I was talking to somebody just the other day. In fact, when we were at lunch, I won't say her name because she didn't say I could. But she comes sometimes, not often. And she survived a terrible incident, and afterwards she felt gratitude. She didn't know what to do. So she has set up a training program for tikas for their own businesses, and that's her way of giving back. We need to give back. We need to give. We need to share. So, anybody else?
Can I share?
Uh
I think one of the things I think about with generosity is more on an energetic level of when we're not generous, we're clinging and grasping to our stuff because we're in fear that we won't have enough, and when we are able to release that clinging and offer out, we're telling ourselves that we do have enough, and that and we in fact we have an overabundance, and so we have enough to give away, and that can really shift something right in the core of us to then being able to feel and be more abundant and have even more to share.
Right.
But certainly in our Western world, we're taught to hoard and to more and more and more for me,
Yeah.
and so it can be really hard to overcome that conditioning to recognize that giving away is actually a good thing and will feel good and will be good for everybody.
There's something kind of sad about seeing people who are millionaires and are earning salaries of $250,000 a year, getting all squirrely about the fact that they might raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And you're sort of like, you poor people, you're so squashed. And that word makes me think of Edna St. Vincent Millay. And she wrote a long poem, and she was still very young. The opening line was, one of the opening lines was, "Oh world, I cannot hold you close enough." And I think we all have that feeling every now and then. It's just so beautiful. Everything is so wonderful. And she ends the poem by saying, "The world stands out on either side, no wider than the heart is wide. Above the world is stretched the sky, no higher than the soul is high." And so when we talk about this openness, so it's generosity is a useful jumping off point if we have questions sometimes. Now, how are we doing on time? I have one more thing to read. This is not a deep talk by any means, but I think it's looking at generosity from a slightly different angle, and it makes us realize that yes, we are more responsive when we are already tuned in to what is being given to us. If somebody jumps in and starts telling you all about bodhisattvas, for example, or emptiness, or the Heart Sutra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, you could go, "Woo, what is this?" But when you just say, you know what, enlightenment is when you train in things that you end up being really happy about. Anyway, the Bodhisattva vow is very long, and one of the must-reads in Buddhism is Shantideva's, who's a 3rd century monk, a book, The Way of the Bodhisattva, or I guess it's The Bodhisattva Way or The Way of the Bodhisattva. So when people are monastics or not, but when they reach a point of having really sort of mastered the perfections, all 6 or all 10, depending on your count, they have now reached a point of enlightenment, which is perfect equanimity, that they don't have to be born back into this world. Everybody else does. You're caught on the wheel of samsara. You go round and round. But they make a decision that instead of utilizing their right or taking their right to nirvana, which means blown out, by the way. We talked about that before. Like blowing out your birthday candles. You just blew out of this pop staff. You're out of here now. They don't want to do that. They say no until everyone has reached enlightenment. We will keep coming back to be of service. And there's a long vow that they take. And these are just 2 short little paragraphs, but it will give you an idea of the sort of the ultimate generosity of Buddhist monastics. And so they're just the 2 that say, may I and may I. And after that, before and after, you cannot read. Listen carefully. See how well you can do with this.
May I be a protector to the helpless, a guide to those traveling the path, a boat to those wishing to cross over, or a bridge, or a raft. May I be land for those requiring it, a lamp for those in darkness. May I be a home for the homeless and a servant for the world.
So there you go.
Excellent.
All right. I'm done. Stick a fork in me. Do we want to do a meta or should we just
Always, yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's love and kindness. This is your generous heart. And at any point along the way where you feel your heart is a little pinched, you give generously to the loving kindness. Person number 1, ourselves. Anybody need to stretch? Okay. Ourselves. Here you are. And to yourself, you say, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, that's equanimity, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. And now, we blow ourselves a kiss. We go to someone else we want to blow a kiss to. Someone we love with all our heart. And we bring their face to mind, say their name, smile at them, and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. We blow them another kiss. And we bring to mind now our neutral person. Perhaps it's someone who waits on us at the grocery store or somewhere. Or it's someone that's a neighbor, but we've never really gotten to know them. We just know they're there. We wave at them in passing. And to that person, whom we will call friend if we don't know his or her name, we say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we bring to mind a person with whom we are in conflict. Either we don't like them, or they don't like us, and we really don't want to like them. But we've committed ourselves to loving kindness. And we know that, as our mothers would say, hate the sin but love the sinner, that we can unconditionally love this person. So we bring him or her to mind, and we say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And then, you don't have to blow them a kiss, but you can smile on the way out. And we then bring to mind all sentient beings. Everybody, everywhere, on this plane and all other planes. We're going on towards 8 billion people on this planet. That's a lot of people. We don't know what we're going to find out there, but we're going to wish them well. So we're going to put our hands over our hearts, and we're going to hold all sentient beings in our hands over our hearts. And to all of them, we say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. And now we sit for as long as we wish and just be quiet. And when we're ready, we open our eyes, release our hands from our hearts. And then we're going to put our palms together for a little bit of benediction. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries. Thank you all. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Since we're a small, we turn on.